Hi guys, how are you? Today I will start with the fourth lesson of 3D Max tutorial course. So let's start up with 3D Max. By the way, I'm sorry for the past day that I wasn't do any new tutorials. The reason for that was I'm so busy with my work, so I wish that you excuse my brevity. And also there were something in the last lecture I said that I will explain it and I forget, which is the section. So now I will start up with section, then I will continue. So as I said in the past lecture, sorry, in the previous lecture, let's draw a teapot, just this one. So I'm drawing this one now, LW, to show it up. Now, as I said in the previous lecture, we have something which is called section in 3D Max. So what is it? I will hit section from this panel. Now I'll draw the section. So as it is like this, it's only something like 2D shape. So I'll bring it like this here. I will hold it up. As you can see here, the yellow line around the shape. So for example, now if I'm drawing a box, and I will go to the section. Now if I move the section, I will see the yellow line around the box or around the teapot, so on. So let's delete, or let's keep it. Now I have this section, so there's a parameters for the section also. So I'll go to modify panel. Now those are the parameters of the section. So here it's telling me section. Let's start with the first one, update. When section move, update. So when I select the first one, so when the section move, as you can see, the yellow line move up with me. If I'm selecting this one, when section selected, so it gives another comment. So we always select the first one when section moves. And also we have another thing here, which is section extends. So either infinity or section boundary, or I made it off. So always we have to select infinity because it gives me the border for the shape. So and here also I have the color. So as you can see here, around the box or around the teapot, there is a yellow line. So I could change the color of this line by clicking here. So I'll make it red. Now okay. Here as you can see, the section border or the section size. So I have length and width because it's 2D, there's no height for it. So as you can see here, I will keep it as it is. Now if I want to cut a section from this part, or let's move up from this part, so I bring it here. Now I will click up on create shape. So it's telling me name the section. So I will name it, for example, in my name, Majid underscore section 1, then hit OK. So now let's delete. As we can see here, if I move up, I will see another line, and the first line, which is this one, as you can see here, it's green. So when I select this section line, here it's telling me the name of it. By the way, if I'm not able to select the section line, there's another way to select it. So by hitting H through the keyboard, H, you will get this panel. So I will get my objects here. As you can see here in this box, all the objects that I draw in this project. So I will select Majid underscore section 1, which is that I made it now. Now I will hit OK. Immediately it will select the section. Or for example, let's go, I'll select the teapot. So OK, immediately it selected the T-bot itself. So I want to select the section now. Okay, then I will move it. So as you can see, now I'm moving the section. So let's go to top view Z. As I said, we were in the perspective mode. I went to T for top view, Z for zooming or for extended the zoom for the object that I selected. So now if I want to hide those grid lines by hitting G from the keyboard, if I want to show it, also G again. So now for now I want to hide them because I don't like them actually in the top view mode. So I'll hide them. As you can see here, there is the lines for the section from the part that I cut it. And also here I will explain all those, but not in this lecture, because this panel, editable spline and editable poly, I'll explain them later because they are a little bit complex. So here is my section. So for now I will delete everything that I have. I will show up the grid lines. Now I will come here, I will draw. Now I will explain, I will continue with the shapes. In the previous lecture, I started drawing those shapes and I explained the parameters for each one of them. This lecture, I will explain another thing, which is extended primitives. So in the previous lecture, I were in standard primitives, but this lecture, I will explain extended primitives. Sorry. Why I'm explaining this one and why they are not in the same bar. So Autodesk 3D Max company, when they made this panel, for example, now if I want to go to draw a box, it will show me the parameters of it. So if they put the standard parameters and the extended parameters one under each other, so it will look more annoying. So that's why the designer of this program, they made it like this. So now we will go to extended parameters and I have another shapes. So there is not only those shapes in 3D Max, we have another shapes which is extended parameters. I have the first shape which is the Hydra. So this is this shape called Hydra. So what is it? I have also a parameters for the Hydra. So when I go to modify, I get the I have the parameters for the Hydra. So as I said, I want to modify. Now I have the parameters for it. So it has four types or four style or four family. So the first one, which is called Tetra, the second one, the second style, the third, fourth, and fifth style. And also here, as you can see, you could control everything that you want. For example, let's go to cube style or cube. Now we'll control it in this way. So there's something we can't see. So it's just, as you can, I could control the axis. I will not explain the parameters because, as you know, in the previous lecture I explained the parameters and you knew. Now I think that everyone know what is parameters and how can I control them. Now I have another shape which is Taurus knot. What is it? This one actually, the designer call it infinity shape. So as you can see here, it looks like infinity. So and in 3D Max they call it Taurus knot. And I have another, I will delete it. And by the way, also it has parameters, so you could discover them out, because I want to explain something also important and we don't have time for the 3D Max tutorial. So that's why I will just show you the shapes. By the way, this is one of the important things, so because I will explain it next in the next lectures, so I have to explain it now and focus on it. So please, this chamfer box for the interior designer especially, also the exterior designer, they use it, which is the architecture. So what is, for example, now if I want to design a bed, I will give it a dimension. As I said, there is a parameters for everything, so I will draw this as a bit. Then as you can see here, now I could make chamfer like this, and I want to draw now pillow over it here. So I will go to chamfer box again and I will draw it, but unfortunately I can't see it over this, the previous box or the first one or the main one. So how can I draw a new chamfer box but over the main one? Now for this purpose I have to select chamfer box, then select auto grid from here. Now I will draw it. As you can see here, now it's easy for me, so I'll draw the first one. Now without drawing another one, I want to copy this one here. So how can I copy this one? As I said in the first lecture, I have three x's: x, then y I have, and z for top and down. So if I want to copy this chamfer box for the other side, so I will go to y axis, I will hit shift from the keyboard, so I will click shift, then move. So as you can see here, now I'm copying the chamfer box on the same axis. After hitting the mouse and the shift, it asks me, do you want the object copy or instance or reference? I will explain those two, instance and reference, later. Now I'll say I want it as a copy. Now okay. Then there is another question: how can I make the clothes as it is? So I will explain the clothes comment because it's a huge comment and it has so many parameters and it needs a time. It needs a lecture only for the clothes comment. So later I will explain it. So as I said, now how I made a copy, let's select this shape. So I will copy by shift, then move. Shift. So please focus up with me now. Shift, move. Now it tell me copy, but here I have another option, which is how many copies, the number of copies. So I will hit 5 from the keyboard. I made it 5, and here the name of it, so always I'm keeping it as it is, so don't name it. Now I will hit OK. So as you can see here, now I got five copies in the same time and in the same spacing between each other. So in this way, in this case, now I'm making a copy. And also there's another way to make a copy, so I will explain all those parameters now. Now let's go to other shapes, which is chamfer cylinder. So as you can see here, also I could draw chamfer cylinder. So now there's a parameters why it looks not smooth, why it's not smooth, why this cylinder not smooth. So I'll go to modify, and I'll just control the radius, so I'll keep it as it is. Now I have the segments. So I said always, as I'm saying, the segments is the solution for the problem of smooth. So I will increase up the segments. Here the slides, I'll increase them up. So as you can notice, when I'm increasing the slides, I get the shape more smoother. And also fillet edge, so whenever I increase the edge, I'll get the shape more smoother also. So I have also something called cap segments. So let's hit F4 through the keyboard. So F4, as you can see here, I have a segment for the cap, but now there's no segments, so I'll increase them up, as you can see here. So now I get the segments. So every time when you see any shape that you draw not smooth, that means the problem because of the segments. So please focus. Now I have another shape, which is oil tank. So this is called oil tank, and also there's a segments from the parameters and you could control them up. I have another shape which is capsule, and so on. I will not explain other shape. Now we will go to another thing. I will go up to standard parameters, because always we are working with those standards. Now I'll go to the shapes. In the previous lecture I explained all of those except the section, and in this lecture in the beginning I explained the section. Now I have another thing which is nerves curves. So what is it? Those also 2D. So point curve, which means I'm just hitting points. So let's draw in front of your eyes. So I will hit click on the point curves, click, go to any other point, then click again, click. As you can see here now I'm getting a very smooth curve. So click, click. Now I will close up this shape. So it's telling me now, ask me, do you want to close this curve? If I'm hitting yes, now if I want to make extrude after that, I could. But if I'm hitting no, I couldn't make extrude because this shape not closed. So I'll hit yes. I will hide the grids for 3D Max by hitting G from the keyboard. Now as you can see here, I have this shape. It looks like something organic. So let's extrude it. How we extrude any shape, as I said in the previous lecture, by going to modify, then from modifier list I will search for the extrude command or hitting E through the keyboard, then it will show up as the fourth one. So this is my shape as a 3D now. So also there's another parameters, even I could make those edges smooth as this edge, I mean fillet. I could fill them up. I will explain all those parameters next lecture, God willing. So now I have another thing which is CV curves, which means the line. I could draw a curved line like this. Then I will click again. I will click again. Now I'll close it. It's telling me as every time, so I'll hit yes. This is my shape. If you notice here, I have a problem. It's intersection here. So I'll repeat it because when I extrude it, I think that I will get a problem. Let's try it. So EX. As you can see here, it's not extruded. It's extrude the edges, not the entire area. So why? Because of this problem. So I'll delete this. I will draw it again. CV curve. Yes. Now this is my shape. If I'm extruding this shape now, EX, as you can see, by the way, it gives me the same amount for the previous shape. For example, now if I'm making this one 100, and if I'm making another shape, so let's make another thing. So if I'm going to extrude comment, now it's also 100. It gives me the same amount for the previous project. By the way, I have a notice. So now if I'm drawing this CV curve or any other shape 2D, if I'm drawing the first point, second point, third point, fourth point, fifth point, but I did a problem in fifth point. I don't want a fifth point here. I want it in another location. So I'll just hit backspace through the keyboard. So by hitting backspace, I could delete the last point that I did. So now I'll made it like this, then like this. So I did this shape. I could also extrude it as we said, or I said we have two way for make it as a 3. Now I have another thing which is rotation. So let's move only the chamfer box, this one, let's move it. Now I could show the rotation controller through the keyboard. So by hitting E from the keyboard, I will see this one. So I could make it bigger or smaller through the keyboard by hitting either plus or minus. So by hitting plus, I could make it bigger. Hitting minus, I could make it smaller, as you can see. So I always to make it like this. So I could rotate it like this, as you can see here now, or rotate it in another side. By the way, I could, by hitting A through the keyboard, or going to this command, which is angle snap toggle, or we call it sometimes snap toggle. So or by hitting A, I will select up this one. Now I will go to it, right click on the command. Now here it's telling me the angle. So if I'm give it 5 degrees, so each one step it will move 5 degrees. If I make it 10 degrees, each one step it will move 10 degrees. So always I'm making it 5 degrees, then I will hit enter. So after that I will get out of this comment. So I have to get insurance that I'm active this comment by hitting A through the keyboard. So now I'm activated this one. So as you can see here, the angle is 10 15, sorry, it was 0 at the beginning, now 5 10 15 20 and so on. So 5 degrees 5 degrees. So I could move it 90 degree, as you can see here now, or 180 and so on. So I'll make it 90 degree for now. Now I have another thing. If I'm going back to W, which is move command, also I could make it bigger or smaller through the keyboard. So by hitting plus or minus, as you can see here through the screen. Now I have another thing, which is through this extended parameters. I have only two shapes, which is a very important shapes. So LX and CX. What those? LX, as we call it in architecture, L shape. Sometimes we call it like this. So if I'm drawing it now, then I will give it a height, then a thickness, or a width. So it looks like two walls beside each other. And also I have the other one, and also by the way it has parameters. So what does those parameters? It has height, so I could control the height for it. It has something, another thing, which is called front width, which is this one, as you can see here, for the first wall or the first side. And back or sorry, side width, also for the second one. And also it has front length here, so the length, or how does it long, and also for this one. And I have another thing, which is CEXT, or U shape. So it looks like a room, right? So those two shapes are also important. And I have something called hose. This for the, I think, civil engineering, they use these shapes, those shapes for the interior working. Now let's delete all those comments, or let's keep them up as they are. Now we will go to something called scale. So let's select this shape. I will hit R from the keyboard. So R to going to scale command. Now if I'm going to Y, I will make it bigger or smaller through Y axis, as you can see here now. So Y, now I'm control it. If I'm going to Z, so I will control the height of it, so through Z command. Or if I'm going to X, also the same, I will control the X scale. Now how can I control all the scale of all this shape one time on an ratio? So I will go to the middle here, then I will click hit right click through the, sorry, left click, then now I could go up or go down to make it bigger or smaller in a ratio. So now we have three things, which is a very important things. The first one, which is move W3 through the keyboard. So move to those three axes, X, Y, Z. And I have another thing, which is scale, rotation, which is through the keyboard. So and as I explain it, I have, if I want to make it move each step 5 degree or 10 degree or whatever, so I have to make it active through hitting A from the keyboard, then going here, then control this third choice, either 5 degree, 10 degree, whatever, even 90 degree. So then hitting enter, then, so if I'm hitting one step now, it moves 90 degree, as you can see. Now I have another thing, which is scale, R from the keyboard, scale. So we said as we want to scale it in a ratio, or scale the y axis or z axis or even x axis. Now if I want to select something, one of those shapes, as I said, now this shape called hose. So if I'm going to H through the keyboard, it's look like layers in AutoCAD or in another programs. So if I'm hitting H from the keyboard, now I will look for something called hose. So even I could find it from here through this. So if I'm typing HOSE, immediately it will select me the hose. So I will select it, then okay. Now I select the hose. So why I'm using this? As I said before, I draw a section and I'm not able to select it through the mouse, even when I zoom in, so I will hit H through the keyboard. So for now, this lesson are finished for this lecture. On next lecture, I will start importing a plan from AutoCAD, then we will start with interior spaces. So from the next lecture, I will start with the interior spaces. Then I will explain how to make a modeling, how to make a materials, how to make a lighting, how to make a new materials that you want to save it, and many things I will explain also. And also after that, we will work with exterior. So for this lecture, I wish that you understand everything. And if you have any question, please type it in a comment below the video. Bye bye.